Welcome to the Healthy Brain Podcast. Today, the topic is about creating an effective planning system. I recently shared in my group coaching program, which is the Brain Health Boot Camp. We're in week 3 now. And I shared with them the details of the planning system. So, what I wanted to provide for you as you're listening to it or watching it, this podcast, that I can give you the principles so you can set up your own planning system. I do get into quite a bit of detail in my program, and I help people create their own time management and planning system, which is a crucial part of implementing for goal achievement for our brain health. It helps for so many reasons to have a time management and planning system. But I'm happy to share some major principles that you should consider in applying into your own life. Before I get into the principles, I do want to invite you to a new workshop that I'm hosting July 30th, Reinvent Your Mornings. And actually, this topic today about planning a planning system will apply. Many of the principles will be applied, and I'll delve deeper into it in the Invent Your Mornings or Reinvent Your Mornings workshop. When you register for the workshop, it's a free workshop, you'll get free access to my digital intentional morning course. So you want to make sure that you sign up and register. Don't worry, it will be recorded. So register in the link in the show notes for that workshop. And like I said, it's coming up July 30th. Let's get into the topic now. So, planning. Every day I work with clients, my coaching clients, and my patients, my cognitive rehab patients, working on planning and time management. Because so often people, and I know myself, I won't get things done. I won't accomplish some specific actions that need to be completed for me to achieve a goal, because if I don't have a system, it won't get done. So it can look like a more complex system, or it could be more of a simplistic planning system. The 6 or 7, I believe there's like 7 principles that I have here to share. Now, these are not all essential, but if you were to apply all of these 7 principles or specific particular steps in your planning system, if you had all of them, this would be a well-rounded planning system. But if you just want to get started with 1 or 2, maybe you're currently using one of the principles. Maybe you want to add in a second or a third, and then every week or so add in more. Because in my experience, in my coaching career, in my own health and life journey, in the journey of helping hundreds of patients and clients improve their brain function and their health and life, I have found these principles are transformative. Okay, so the first thing that I want to address is, should it be a digital planner or calendar, or should it be paper? I am a fan of a paper calendar. It's not to say you can't do some of these things on a digital platform. So it could be, and I do have some clients and patients who want to have their calendar on their digital, on the computer or digital access. But many of these principles that I'm sharing now have to be written down daily. So it just makes sense to have a planner or a slash notebook, and you'll see what I mean as I go through it. So my recommendation is to try out a cute planner and apply these principles. At least try it for 30 days and see how you enjoy it. The other thing is that you could apply it after you join the workshop and see if you've gained some additional insight to how to use these planner principles. Okay, so let's say you have your paper planner or a slash notebook. What you want to have in the planner for sure is a calendar, but not just a weekly or not just a monthly view, because I have had so many patients and clients say, yeah, I have a calendar and they show me, that little Hallmark calendar or a huge wall calendar that just has the month and little squares. We need something bigger. So you can have your monthly view, but you have to have a daily slash weekly view. A daily view, meaning you have a spot for these other principles that I'm going to be sharing. So, first off, you want to have a calendar that has a monthly and weekly slash daily view. The second is you want a spot to write your goal, the goal that you are working on, whether it's a 1 month goal, 12-week goal, which is one specific that I have my clients complete in the 12-week boot camp that we're currently doing. But they break it down to a 1 month goal. Write your goal. That should be daily because it's amazing how our brain just forgets about it. Forgets that what are we working on? And before you know it, you get to the end of the week or the end of the month and you haven't even addressed your goal. So we want a spot in your planning. A planning principle is to have some place on your daily view where you write your goal. The third principle, planning principle, is have an area or a spot in your planner slash notebook where you have a list of tasks or to-dos that you want to do this week, this month. And the next principle is, so you can think of that one principle of a list is actually a brain download, a brainstorm list where you're just writing down all of the things that you know you need to do. I actually like doing this at the end of the week before the new week, where I just write down all of the things that I need to get done. Then that leads me to the next principle, where principle 4, where you're taking 3 to 5 of those things in your brainstorm list and you're actually putting it into the day that you want to complete it. Now, I have people who do two things, and I've done both. What I've found successful for me recently is I actually put I take at the beginning of the week on Sunday or Monday. I look at my brainstorm list. I take 3 items and I plop them in Monday. Then I'll go back and I'll say, take 3 other items or 3 to 5. And maybe I'll put it like, this is better to do on Wednesday. So I plop those on Wednesday. And I actually schedule out what top 3 to 5 things I'm going to do Monday through Friday. Now, I didn't always start that way. I didn't start that way. And some people may feel too overwhelmed, like, well, I never know what I'm going to do. Will I have time? You have to have a fairly, um, let's say, consistent schedule. So you have to know where you'll be and what you'll be doing every day in order to pick those items and plop them in. But it really has helped my productivity when I pick the items at the beginning of the week, because what we're using is our prefrontal cortex in the beginning of the week. And maybe it's, like I said, Sunday or Monday. We're planning, we're in the planning mode, we're in that motivation where our brain is feeling fresh after the weekend. If we wait until Wednesday afternoon to determine, well, what am I going to do today? We're tired, we're overwhelmed, our brain energy is zapped, and we're not using our prefrontal cortex as efficiently. So, like I said, there's one thing that you can do is to schedule out your 3 to 5 things every day, Monday through Friday. Or you can look at your list, your brainstorm list every morning and pick the top three. So some of my clients choose to do that. Regardless, you want to have a brainstorm, a big master list, and be able to have a spot where, as you think of something throughout the week, you're going to jot it down on this master list, and then you transfer it to that daily view of when you're actually going to do it, that daily planner page. The next thing to do after the top 3 to 5 things per day, or to schedule it in when you're going to do it, is to have a spot in your notebook or planner where you jot down what you're grateful for today. And a lot of times we'll brush over this. We do know the science is there, the research that when people write, especially 3 things, they've done some research on 1 to 3 things. When people sit in gratitude and really stop and feel abundant and grateful for specific things every day, they boost their mood. They are happier overall. So we know that gratitude is an important thing to tap into every day. And when you have it as a planner principle, you can actually jot it in somewhere on your planner, on your notebook as well. Okay. The next is to have a spot for your affirmation. And an affirmation is how you want to think, which helps us to have a particular emotion that will give us the energy to complete a particular actions in order to reach our goals. So if I'm waking up and thinking all day, I'm so tired, this job is sucking the life out of me. I can't stand going to work. I don't have time to work out. This person is bothering me. All these things that we could be thinking of, which our brain thinks of, a lot of negative thoughts. What we want to do instead is switch and reframe. And there is a process this week coming up in the Brain Health Bootcamp. We're actually talking about mindset shifts, and I'm diving deep into it with my group. But we're shifting in the thoughts of what really is a positive affirmation. So I am in control of my health and life choices. I create my results. I am excited about transforming someone's life today. Now that can be, in some cases, some people may be saying, "Oh, I don't feel that excited." Well, it's a process. If I said a thought, that a sentence that you don't resonate with, you yourself come up with, and I actually do work with people all the time, all my coaching clients, in helping them really reframe how they want to think about a situation. Is their thought serving them? And pick a thought or an affirmation that would serve them. So if I am in my planning principle every day, I write down an affirmation. And today, my affirmation was, I am in control of my health and life choices. The next planning principle that I would suggest is to have a spot somewhere in your planner, in your notebook, for tracking your habits. Because we know with research that tracking our habits, a nice little check mark, color in with a highlighter. I like to color in my tracker with a highlighter. I have some items that I've actually given to my coaching group. I have a weekly tracker, 2 types of weekly trackers, that one that has 15 habits and one of them has 5. But I've also suggested to people, if they don't want to have a separate tracker on a piece of paper, They can make a little tracker in their notebook and on their planner, just a little box with check mark. Drank all my water that I wanted to today, or whatever it is going to look like for you. So as this is called, this episode really is creating an effective planning system. A system means that you may have a couple of things. You may have your digital calendar on your computer. You may have your notebook with your habit tracker that you've drawn out, possibly, or that you've inserted a habit tracker. So the benefit of looking at planning system, time management system, it's a system. So there's a couple of things that are like that you're using. We want to streamline it. So you don't want to have a ton of sticky notes and a ton of notebooks, because that also happens where before I created my planning system that I use, I had a notebook here, notebook there. It was all over the place. And I often have clients who come to me where they'll say, yeah, I have a notebook here, a notebook there, notebook there. My planner, I'm not really using, or I'm just using a digital. And I help them to consolidate it to make it more effective and streamlined for them. Now, the last thing of this planning principle is to have a spot where you can write notes. Maybe it's a conversation, a phone conversation, or details of a discussion you've had with someone, a meeting, in a meeting, or a doctor's office, where you jot down more information. It's not just a to-do list. And that can, again, be in your notebook. That is more of that planning system notebook. It's all in there with all the other things that you've written: your goal, you've written your gratitude, your affirmation, your notes are there. And also, some of my clients use this notebook not just for notes, jotting down notes, but they'll use it for their journaling, because part of the journaling, the vision journaling that we work on, and reframing our thoughts, it's important to have a spot that all of it is easily accessible. So these are all of the main planning principles that, as I mentioned at the beginning, you might have one to three of these in place, but you'll be surprised that when you add in some of these other ones, they can make a huge difference in your achievement of your goals. And I hope that you'll join me in my next workshop, Reinventing Your Mornings. Thanks again for joining me. Namaste.